Welcome to the Books We Loved in 2020 video. Your librarians read a lot of great books this past year, and we want to share some of them with you. This video is only one way you can get recommendations for entertaining and enlightening books. Please go to thomascranelibrary.org to browse lists of popular books in all genres and for all ages. We also offer a digital service called Novelist Plus, which will give you read-alikes of authors and books that you already know you like, and much more. We offer a web form that you can fill out for yourself or the children in your life and get tailored recommendations just for you. We hope you find something that sparks your interest in the following suggestions. Hi everyone, my name's Eileen. I'm one of the Thomas Crane librarians, and I'm here to talk about one of the reads that I loved in 2020. That book was called The Lost Book of Adana Moreau by Michael Zapata. It's a really multi-layered, multi-generational, multi-timeline book. So if that doesn't scare you off, listen on. It's about Adana Moreau, a woman who was born in Latin America about 100 years ago. And by the way, this is all fiction. So she had to escape her homeland because of some unrest, and she moved to America and had a son with her husband and wrote a science fiction novel that kind of reflects a lot of themes and like things she went through during her escape from her country in a science fiction setting. So it was extremely fascinating, but I wouldn't call this a science fiction novel at all. It's very, kind of defies a lot of genres. It jumps around in different timelines. We meet a couple of gentlemen later in the century who want to find her second manuscript that was never published because she had passed away. And they realize her son is still living and they want to find him to give him a manuscript, that manuscript that they happen to come across from a character that you really are not sure how they relate to the Moreau story. So it's a little twisty, time-bendy book, but it's pretty fascinating, and all this culminates during Hurricane Katrina. So it's a big climax at the end that when everything kind of gets tied together. It's a story about friendship, it's about family, it's about, losing your identity and your culture because of things that are happening in your country. And it's something probably maybe some people can relate to. So I really enjoyed this book. There was a lot going on, but it's very beautiful prose, extremely well written. And this is Mr. Zapata's debut novel, so I really look forward to more books from him because this was just a kind of a genre-defying book that just kind of made you think and say, what's going on here? Which that's the type of book that I love. So I highly recommend this book for someone who's looking for something a little different. This book can be found on Hoopla as an ebook or an audiobook, or you can check it out with us. Always give us a call or go online at thomascranelibrary.org and place your holds. Thanks.
Hi everyone, my name is Paul. I'm one of the librarians at Thomas Crane Public Library, and I'm here to talk about one of my favorite reads for 2020, and that is Batman White Knight, which was illustrated and written by Sean Murphy. Batman White Knight collects an 8-issue miniseries dealing with what happens when Batman's greatest foe, the Joker, suddenly becomes sane. And it shows us a side of the conflict between these two well-known characters that we haven't really seen before. If Batman really believes that his arch-nemesis can be redeemed, and at what point can the sins of his past outrun the good that a sane Joker is trying to do now. So it really dives into the things that push these characters forward, takes what we know about them and kind of flips it on its head a little, but it's extremely interesting. Now, you don't need to be a long-time fan of Batman to enjoy the series. In fact, even just having some sort of, glancing idea of who Batman is will be enough to allow you to enjoy it. It's pretty friendly to get into. Pretty interesting read. The art is really great. I find the art to give Batman a lot of weight, because this is a Batman that's been doing this for a while. So he's kind of older, heavier, a little more grim than even Batman normally is. So Batman White Knight by Sean Murphy, one of my favorite reads of 2020, and that was available actually through Hoopla, one of our digital ebook platforms, so you can find it there.
Hi there, this is Pinky. I'm a member of the circulation staff at Thomas Crane Public Library. The book I loved in 2020 is The Princess in Black. This is a children's book, the first of a series of 8 books. It was written by Shannon Hill and Dean Hill and illustrated by Li Yuan Pham. Shannon Hill is the New York Times best-selling author of 6 young adult novels. She has also written several books for adults and co-writes graphic novels with her husband Dean Hill. In The Princess in Black, the main character, Princess Magnolia, has a secret. When trouble arises, Princess Magnolia gets rid of her fancy royal dresses and becomes the Princess in Black and saves the world. This book is excellent for holding a child interest, and it definitely makes the child want to keep reading the other books in the series. Overall, it does an outstanding job of encouraging a young reader's imagination. This series is also an extremely good choice for beginning chapter book readers, since unlike some beginning chapter books, the Princess in Black series has a lot of color pictures which capture a child's attention. The Princess in Black is a fun, colorful, and well-written book which I highly recommend, and you can get it right here at Thomas Crane Public Library. See you soon.
Hi everyone, this is Shane from the Thomas Crane Library, and my pick for Best Read of 2020 is The Graduate by Charles Webb. Published in 1963, the book tells the story of Benjamin Braddock, who is back home after graduating from college and going crazy thinking about his future. During his time of crisis, Benjamin winds up abandoning his career as a teacher, beginning an affair with a married woman, and eventually deciding to marry the daughter of the woman he's having an affair with. If this story sounds familiar, you've probably seen the 1967 film The Graduate, starring Dustin Hoffman as Benjamin Braddock and Anne Bancroft as the iconic Mrs. Robinson. And while this coming-of-age tale has become somewhat of a cliché in American pop culture throughout the years, I found the author's telling of it to be refreshing. His depiction of the characters is very candid, to the point where it's almost impossible to sympathize with them, especially Benjamin, who becomes more unlikable as the story progresses. Along with the author's ability to create believable characters, I also liked his straightforward and simple writing style. Structured like a play at times more than a novel, I was able to finish the book in less than 2 days, which is quite a feat considering I'm a notoriously slow reader. Regardless of me being a slow reader, I found this book to be a legitimate page-turner. And while it was not the most profound or even most interesting book I read this year, it was one that I couldn't put down. And for such a simple story to hold my undivided attention during this crazy year, that makes it good enough to top my best of 2020 reading list.
Hi, I'm Dorothy, and I'm one of the children's librarians at the Thomas Crane Public Library. I'm excited to talk about one of my favorite books of 2020, Show Me a Sign by Anne Claire Lizotte. It's available in a print copy, obviously. You can just place your hold through thomascranelibrary.org or give your librarians a call. It's also available as an ebook through Overdrive or on the Libby app. I recommend it for kids reading anywhere from fourth grade through middle school, and really for anybody who enjoys well-written historical fiction. It's a fascinating look at the deaf community in Shellmark on Martha's Vineyard in the early 1800s. I appreciated that this is a novel about the deaf experience written by a deaf author, which is informative for hearing readers, but it also serves as an important mirror reflecting the experiences of deaf readers, particularly for students who might have a hard time finding books written by someone in their own community. Aside from that, this is just a thrilling adventure and mystery that happens to touch on some really important topics. The main character, Mary Lambert, lives with her parents in close-knit Shellmark, where the high prevalence of deafness means that pretty much everyone in the town can communicate through the island sign language, whether they are deaf or not. And it's taken for granted that deaf people are just as intelligent and productive as hearing people. This unique community draws the attentions of a young scientist who comes to the island to study the causes of the widespread deafness. 11-year-old Mary is kidnapped as a live specimen for the doctor's experiments, and she's taken to Boston, where she's unable to communicate and is desperate to escape back to the island. I highly recommend this book for anyone interested in broadening their reading to include own voices stories, anyone who enjoys historical fiction, particularly Massachusetts history, and for fans of Sharon Creech, Brian Selznick, Lois Lowry, or Kate DiCanillo. I hope you enjoy. Thanks.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jake. I work at the circulation department here at the Thomas Crane Library. And for books that we loved here in 2020, I decided to select a book I read called The Mighty Fitz by Michael Schumacher. And what is it about? It's about the shipwreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald, one of the largest tankers at the time when it sank on November 10th, 1975. At the time, it was one of the largest workboats, largest tankers in the United States, and it sank on November 10th, 1975, in the middle of Lake Superior. It hit a strong Great Lakes storm. It swallowed the boat up. Got caught right in the middle of the storm, and it went down right in the middle of Lake Superior. Unfortunately, there was no witnesses to what may have happened. Also, unfortunately, it took all 29 members of his crew with it. And it was immortalized with the song you might be able to hear with the audio, in the song by Gordon Lightfoot that came out a year later. Not sure if it's a little too loud. I can turn it down. But yes, the Edmund Fitzgerald, one of the largest tankers at the time, went down in the middle of a storm in the Great Lakes on Lake Superior, and it actually remains one of the greatest mysteries because there was no witnesses. It remains one of the greatest mysteries as to how and why the boat sank, and it still actually remains probably one of the more famous shipwrecks in American history and in recent memory. It's actually referred to as the American Titanic. So the book actually goes into a little bit of detail of how and why the boat may have sank, sheds a little bit of light on what may have happened that night on November 10th. And also the subsequent legal battles between the family members and some of the people that may have wanted to exploit the wreckage, whether for whether sell merchandise or make documentaries on it, and kind of use the wreckage as their own way to make a profit off it. And yes, so the book does go into a little bit of detail, again, of what happened that night and some of the subsequent legal battles that occurred afterwards. And I would say it's a pretty good read. Again, it's by Michael Schumacher, who's written all sorts of books detailing shipwrecks and documentaries about shipwrecks. So if you're into that kind of thing about boats in the Maritimes, or if you're into just the history of, especially when it comes to ships and shipwrecks, again with the Titanic, if you're into the story of Titanic, you might enjoy the story of the Edmund Fitzgerald. and learn a little bit more about it, about one of the more historic tragedies of in American history. So again, Mighty Fitz, The Sinking of the Edmund Fitzgerald by Michael Schumacher is a book that I loved here in 2020. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Clayton Cheever, Assistant Director at the Thomas Crane Public Library, here in glorious Quincy, Massachusetts. I'm excited to tell you about the book Hidden Valley Road, Inside the Mind of an American Family by Robert Kolker. You may have already heard about this book. It's a #1 New York Times bestseller, and it's made it on a number of lists of the best books of 2020, including those compiled by President Obama, the New York Times, the Washington Post, NPR, Time, and many others. Hidden Valley Road itself is a place in Colorado. It's where the Galvin family raised 12 children, 6 of whom were diagnosed with schizophrenia. They became one of the first families to be studied by the National Institute of Mental Health. Their story not only helps us understand some of the ways it's like to live with this incredibly challenging disorder, it also shines light on the relationships between nature and nurture in human development. As if this story wasn't compelling enough, it has a special personal element for me. My mother-in-law, Dr. Linda Lisi, is featured prominently in the book. As a preeminent leader in the scientific struggle with schizophrenia, she's been personally confronted by gender assumptions and challenges of how her work would affect her own children, my wife and brother-in-law. I encourage you to read this book if you're at all interested in learning more about mental health and how our greater society has grappled with the role families and genetics play in this complicated and often painful experience. Hidden Valley Road is available to borrow in physical format from our catalog and as an ebook and an e-audiobook from Overdrive. The hardcover is 400 pages long and the audiobook is just over 13 hours long. I hope you enjoy it.
Hi, I'm Margaret, an adult services librarian here at the Thomas Crane, and I'm sharing with you one of my favorite must-read books of 2020, Survivor Song by Paul Tremblay. This book is so fun if you love action, horror, zombies, and all things apocalyptic. Paul Tremblay sets the story in Massachusetts, where Dr. Romola Sherman and her very pregnant friend Natalie are forced to survive and save themselves and the yet-to-be-born baby from a rapidly spreading virus. Similar to rabies, it is spread by saliva and can be contracted by both animals and people, making just about every scene dangerous and nerve-wracking. The virus seems to appear overnight, and the infected, once bitten, are driven to taking out as many victims as they can around them, creating absolute chaos. Hospitals are completely full, unable to provide care. Leadership falls apart in the government and in the military, and citizens and neighbors start making some wild choices, showcasing a quick decline of societal standards in the face of fear. Sherman is a great protagonist, and I love the friendship between her and Natalie, but I of course just adore the little BMX ride-or-die duo, Josh and Louise. These two zombie-fighting teens also appeared in Tremblay's 2017 disappearance at Devil's Rock. While some of the storyline feels like watching the news this year, Tremblay wrote this book actually prior to our new normal, and it was only published and released in 2020. I didn't know he was a locally born author until I started reading, so it was really fun navigating familiar characters and locations throughout the story. You can find Survivor Song and other books like it in the Thomas Crane Public Library catalog in regular print and as a book on CD. Or you can read this book digitally on Overdrive and on Libby. Enjoy!
My name is Carrie, and I am the teen librarian at the Thomas Crane Public Library, and I'm here to talk about my pick for Best Book of 2020, the YA story Punching the Air by Ibi Zoboi and Yusef Salaam. If the name Yusef Salaam sounds familiar to you, it is because he is one of the Central Park Exonerated Five. But this is not Yusef's story. This is about a young boy named Amal Shahid, who at the start of the book is on trial for a crime that he did not commit. He has been accused of assaulting a young white boy. And as he gets thrust into the criminal justice system, he has to work to navigate the chaotic and dehumanizing juvenile detention system. This is a beautiful story that is told as a novel in verse. It has artwork that is scattered throughout the book. It is very poignant and powerfully written. And while this is not Yusef's story, he is able to tell of the same systemic racism that he dealt with, the injustices that he encountered while navigating the criminal justice system. And he's able to convey the poignancy and the struggles and traumas that he experienced while incarcerated. If you're looking for a book that speaks to systemic racism, the school-to-prison pipeline, and an unjust criminal justice system, then I highly recommend Punching the Air by Ibi Zoboi and Yusef Salaam. This is deeply profound and beautifully written, and I highly recommend it. I hope you enjoy.
Hi everybody, my name is Molly Macrigianis and I work in the literacy office at the Thomas Crane Public Library. And I'm here with my son. What's your name?
7. Oh, sorry. Theo!
And how old are you?
7!
Okay, and Theo and I are going to talk about a book we
And I'm in first grade.
read together called A Boy Called Bat. And it is by Elena K. Arnold. So can you tell us a little bit, what is this book about?
So the book is about a boy called Bat, and his mom is a veterinarian, and she brings home this skunk, and it needs help. But in 1 month, they have to give it to like a care center for pets, and Bat doesn't want that to happen. So he tries to take care of the skunk, and at the end of the 3rd book, I'm gonna figure out if Bat makes his mom.
If he's able to keep the skunk.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a good point. This is the first of a 3-part book, right? We didn't read the other 2 parts yet. So it's about this relationship that this boy has with this baby skunk, right? And how he works really hard to try to take good care of it. What's his relationship like with people?
Not very well, and he has a little trouble of communicating with people, and he has trouble of making friends.
So that's part of the story too. So what would you say about, did you have a favorite part of the book?
The favorite part of my book is maybe when he gets his friend. I forget. My favorite part in the book is when he makes Israel one of his friends. When Israel wants to be his friend, and then he takes him as a friend.
So it's a very nice story, right? About a boy, his relationship with this baby skunk, the relationships he tries to build with classmates and his family. And we recommend it to readers in, we would say, elementary school, right? Theo was able to read part of it himself, and we read together. All right, enjoy the book if you pick it.
Yes. Bye.
It was so much fun doing these videos. Thank you for watching, and thank you to the librarians who contributed to this program and gave us a bit of insight into what they loved reading last year. Remember, your librarians are always here to suggest reads for you or help in any way that we can. Visit us online at thomascranelibrary.org and on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can call us at 617-376-1300 or email us at quref@ocln.org. We'd love to chat with you. Stay well, Quincy.